I cannot seem to wrap my head around Pitbull Cruz and how this guy always finds himself in the position to be the main event or fight for a world title or just be relevant in boxing, period. By the way,
high-speed chess. That's what you want.
Period. By the way, we got some new editors on this video. You guys let me know how they do. Should I fire them and they go homeless, or should I keep them, right? But let's get back to Pitbull Cruz. I just cannot wrap my head around how this guy is always in the limelight somehow. Pitbull Cruz has done, I'm not gonna say nothing, but he hasn't done enough to be this big fan favorite, right? And I made a video about it and I've talked about it plenty of times on TikTok, but when you look at Pitbull Cruz, his best accomplishment is what? I'll give you 3 seconds, right? It's the loss to Gervonta Davis. So he lost to a one-handed tank about 5 years ago. Now that was in 2021. We're starting to march into 26 now. So his best achievement is a unanimous decision, which we all can collectively come together and say it was a decent competitive fight at times, but Gervonta Davis clearly showed the levels in that fight despite him only having one hand. That was his best achievement. He goes on, he goes split decision with Cabrera. Giovanni Cabrera is not a great fighter under any metric of boxing, period. He goes on, he stops Rolly Romero. We know how bad fundamentally Rolly Romero is. He started boxing at 17, 18 years old. He stops Rolly. And then he goes on, he loses, he gets dominated by a Jose Valenzuela. Not a terrible fighter, but not a good one either. Jose Valenzuela takes the belt from Pitbull, the belt Rolly had, the belt that Rolly got off Barroso, which he wasn't supposed to have in the first place, and somehow ended up getting the Pitbull. So that's the only title he's ever held, a title he wasn't supposed to have in the first place. I know I sound like a hater, I know, but I don't like how much other people like Pitbull.
What do you mean by that?
I don't. So he gets that title, loses it immediately. Yeah, he loses it immediately. He goes on, Jose Valenzuela goes on, he loses that title now immediately to Gary Antoine Russell. He gets dominated. He gets like 1,000 punches thrown against him and one of the worst performances in his career. And now that title sits very closely to Gary Antoine Russell. And since then, Pitbull Cruz has fought in straight 10-round fights. And then he goes to the draw with Lamont Roach. And Lamont Roach is another fighter where it's still up in the air. How good is he? Another fighter where his best achievement is not beating Tank. You guys see what I'm saying here? Most of these guys' best achievements, the thing they're most notorious for is not beating Tank. Tank is undefeated at the end of the day. So when you look at Frank Martin's a really good fighter that I'm high on. I think he beats Roach and Pitbull quite easily. But the best thing on Roach's or Martin's resume is he was up against Tank before he got stopped.
Game over.
That's the best thing on his resume. So when you look at Pitbull Cruz, you're looking at a guy who is severely undersized for 140 pounds, right? So he's about 5'3" maybe at 140. We're looking at a guy who has a little to no talent, little to no athletic ability. The guy's lacking footwork. He's lacking punch variety. And the biggest thing about him is his pressure. But once again, his footwork is so poor. Anybody with decent footwork who can work outside and, you know, even work off an angle is going to like kill him. We've seen that with Jose Valenzuela. If you could just pivot and work on the outside, you're going to beat Pitbull Cruz. So the best thing about him is his pressure and his power. And you guys don't want to hear it. His power is it's not that great. He throws a lot of power, but he's not a powerful puncher. He's not a powerful guy. He puts a lot of heat behind his shots, but it does not translate to knockouts. I see him hit a lot of guys with mean clubbing shots, and it doesn't generate the type of results and outcomes you would expect it to, because a big part of it is the lack of size and athleticism. His size is so underwhelming. He has to punch upwards, which takes so much torque and twist off his shots. And then once again, he's not athletic, so he can't punch in a variety of different ways. The only way he can punch is if he plants and fires. He can't move while firing. So Pitbull Cruz, like I said, the best things about him are mediocre at best. In terms of power, where do we rank him at 140? Right? And like I said, this is all going back to I don't understand how this guy is still relevant. It is an absolute mystery, and I absolutely have to tip my hat towards Premier Boxing Champions, because they've done a great job turning this, somewhat of a bum into a star. You get what I'm saying? He's not good. He's very far from it. But he has a very loyal fan base, and time again, year after year, there's people coming to me, Jerry, you can't say that about Pitbull. Pitbull isn't a C-, D+ level fighter. Pitbull's a B. You didn't see what Pitbull did to him. You didn't see Pitbull do that. And I'm like, what is PBC doing to you guys? If you can't tell by now, I do not like Pitbull. And like I said, it is a big part. His fans are a big part of why. Isaac Cruz is a dog-like fighter. He wants everybody, and when he gets in the ring with them, he likes to charge at them, and he fights a really good fight. Another myth. Isaac Cruz was offered the Shakur Stevenson fight, in which his manager turned down because Shakur Stevenson has a boring, ugly fighting style. Isaac Cruz threw, I want to say, 521 punches against Jose Valenzuela, and he landed 116, I believe. Shakur Stevenson threw 565 versus William Zepeda, landing over 300. So that boring, ugly style they speak of, that's a duck.
You've been exposed.
Right? That is a duck. The only thing ugly and boring about Shakur's style was that one fight with Edwin De Los Santos. Outside of that, Shakur Stevenson isn't a boring, ugly fighter. He's gonna whoop your ass. That's what that means. I've said it before, time and time again. He's going to whoop your ass, and that's why you're saying it's a boring, ugly style, because it would not turn out good for Isaac Cruz. Or what about when he was offered the rematch with Rayo to capture his 140-pound title again? He said, well, Rayo runs too much, and we want to get straight to the action. I don't know, man. I start to question a lot of you guys' judgment when y'all are grading fighters, or when y'all come to me and y'all say how great a fighter is. I really start to question a lot of you guys, but that's just me.